Hey, what's going on, guys? Thanks for joining me in today's video. I'm Ori, and today I'm going to be talking to you about catching bait fish in Central West Florida. I stay in the Tampa Bay area, but I want to go over this video showing you different methods, the 3 different methods I use for catching bait fish. So it's going to be very important when you get on the water to get bait fish within a fairly decent amount of time. And that can be kind of difficult sometimes. Catching bait is pretty much fishing, is a fishing method within a fishing method, or a fishing method within fishing itself. So time, repetition, you'll get better at it. But in this video, hopefully I can go over some things that will help expedite that process, and you won't spend too much time on the water just trying to catch bait. It'll avoid a lot of frustration. And if you can get pinfish, pilchards, the large thread fins, and they do stay in Tampa Bay all year round, you're gonna have a lot of success, especially when others aren't having success. And you're gonna have access to many varieties of fish and stuff. So let's go over some key things in this video, and thanks for joining me, guys. And if you have anything to add to the video, please do. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. Thank you very much. So here are going to be pretty much your 3 methods to getting bait fish: your cast net, sabiki rigs, or just straight up buying your bait. Cast nets in my area are probably the most popular way of getting bait fish, especially around grass flats, bridges, piers, off beaches in the pass and stuff. But I must say, with cast nets, they don't always work. Like, I carry a different couple cast nets on me for different conditions and different bait fish and stuff. If you can't afford to do that, maybe like at least I would recommend an 8-foot cast net with like a 3/8 mesh or a quarter mesh. That should work most of the time. It's like a good all-around net, but it's not going to work 100% of the time. You will have days where you find it almost impossible to get bait unless you have a very specific net. So nets are a great way to get a lot of bait real quick. But like I said, fishing for bait is a method of fishing within fishing itself. So and cast net is a method of fishing within bait fishing within fishing. So just realize cast nets are a great way to go, but it's not always going to work for you for most people. And that is where your second method comes in: sabiki rigs. And I'll tell you, for me personally, guys, these 3 things, these are my 3 tools right here for catching bait fish. But if I don't want to take the time, I'm gonna buy my bait, but we'll get into that in a little bit. But these 2 right here, I'll never go on a fishing trip without bringing these 2 to the table or to the boat. These are going to be what I use to work up the bait. If the net's working, great, I'm using the net. The good thing with the sabiki rig, though, is the sabiki rig doesn't discriminate with time or species. Sabiki rigs, these little rigs right here, they're going to catch you everything from small white bait, the little pilchards, to large thread fins, pinfish, cigar minnows offshore. When the bait's being finicky, it's not going in this net, I'm switched over to these. I have some of these rigged up, and within half an hour to an hour, I'll have enough bait to go out and do some fishing for the day. These, I mean, they may not get you as much bait as the cast net will, but On those days it's tough, I would argue that sabiki rigs will get you a lot more bait because they're actually getting the bait, which what the cast net is not doing. So these two tools, you work these two and you're gonna get bait on the water, guys. These two are very important. Now, this method right here, you're gonna be buying your bait. In my area in Tampa Bay, there's a lot of bait boats around, and you can usually see them underneath the piers and the bridges and stuff. They're usually wearing suspenders like this, and they're in a spacey boat with a big tank. You just politely ride up to them and ask them if they have any bait for sale, and it's usually like $25 a scoop. And that's also a very, very attractive method that I've used plenty of times, especially when I want to get out fishing like early in the morning, like at sunrise or something, guys. You know, I'm not going to go out and catch bait and then be at my spot by sunrise. The sun's going to go up by then. But if I go out and I just buy that bait, I can get out to that spot in that same amount of time. And you know what? I get more time to fish, and time is money on the water. So buying bait is definitely a very, very attractive option, and it's pretty darn reliable too. And another thing I almost forgot to mention is on those days where the bait is just being a real pain in the ass, that could be some of the best fishing days too. That's when you really want that bait and to be out on the water and stuff. So don't discount buying your bait. Definitely keep some money to the side just in case, guys. And those three methods right there, you got it. All right, guys, so I have showed you the three methods for catching bait. Cast nets, number one. Number two, sabiki rigs. And your third option is going to be buying bait. If you want to do it yourself, always carry sabiki rigs and cast nets with you. Work these two, and you're going to be able to get bait 99% of the time. All right, guys, so in this next part of the video, I'm going to show you certain areas where you can typically find bait. I'm going to use Tampa Bay and that surrounding area as an example. I'm also going to show you how to rig a sabiki rig properly and the general areas you would want to use this around. I'm just going to use one of my regular reels that I use for fishing in this example. Generally, when you're going to rig a sabiki rig up, you're gonna tear it right here from the top. This sabiki rig, the package actually got wet and the feathers melted on it, so it's not good. I could still use it with squid and make it work, but I decided I'm gonna use it for this example. So I'm just tearing this open. You're going to take the sabiki rig out of the package like this. And you're going to tie your main line to this part of the swivel. There's going to be a swivel at the sabiki rig. Just a regular like barrel swivel. So you're going to tie your main line to that. And then once you get done tying, you're just gonna pull on it one at a time, and you'll see that these feathers with the hooks will come off of them one at a time, just like this. This one came off a little bit easier than they normally would because the package is wet. And then at the very end, you're gonna have a swivel with a snap swivel attached, and you're going to attach, depending on the current, this I think is about a 1/2 ounce weight,
Maybe it's a little less, maybe it's a little more. I don't know. It's about like the size of my thumbnail though. It's a small weight. Usually, typically people use the weights with that can just snap into the snap swivel. I don't have one of those special Sabiki rig weights. So what I'm just gonna do is I'm gonna pinch the line here and just uh, put it through and then loop it around and pinch it onto itself. Okay, so just like that, but remember guys, they do have special weights for Sabiki rigs and stuff. You don't have to go with a heavy weight uh, on Sabiki rigs. Generally, it's better if you don't go too heavy. You want enough weight to be able to cast it and stuff, but you don't have to go with a heavy weight. Even in stronger current, you can go with a pretty darn lightweight. And therefore, you're going to have your Sabiki rig with the branches of hooks. Okay, usually these are going to have feathers on it. They do tend to get tangled real easily, so just letting you know that they will be frustrating. They will definitely get tangled and crossed with one another. But yeah, you've got your branch of hooks, and then you're just going to take this Sabiki rig where you see bait. Typically, you're going to look on your sonar or you're going to use your eyes to find bait. This is going to be around deeper water like bridges, off the beach, in channels. Not so much grass flats, although I suppose it would work just fine. But in grass flats, you're not going to have any issue with your cast net. So what I said about cast netting sometimes being a pain earlier, forget about that. That doesn't apply when you are on the grass flats. It's no problem. Cast nets typically needing to be specific is for those deeper water areas like channels, beaches, bridges, jetties, piers, stuff like that. So these, same thing, same areas, jetties, piers, bridges. Use your eyes to find the bait or use your sonar on the machine. You're just going to drop the bait straight. You're gonna drop the Sabiki rig straight down, and then what you're going to do is usually when it hits, you just drop it to the bottom. The very important thing to do is kind of work the water column. So look at your sonar. Pilchards tend to be in all of the water column, from the bottom to the top, all the way up to the surface. Thread fins and stuff typically tend to be at the surface. So if you're jigging for thread fins, maybe let it hit the bottom. And if you're not getting any hits or something, you can work it up a few feet off the bottom and let it sit there. And you're going to just jig this tip just like this. I don't know, maybe the camera doesn't have me in focus, but you're just going to jig the rod tip so this Sabiki rig is going like this. So let's see if I can get that in focus here. Just going to be jigging it like that. And another thing, guys, that is going to be important is when you do, if you want to get multiple fish on the Sabiki rig, is when you do get a hit, let the fish stay on it and jig it a couple more times before you reel it up. Like, don't just reel it up when you feel the first fish. Let this fish get interested in that fish that's hooked or tangled. Pretty soon you'll have many more fish tangled or hooked onto those hooks, and you'll be able to get bait much faster. Another thing, guys, I wanted to say is when you're off the reef, I found this to be very a lot of people don't know about this or don't do this, but it's just something I've noticed from fishing over the reefs for so many years, is when you're fishing for cigar minnows, when you're trying to catch those cigar minnows, um, oftentimes the fish, like on my boat, I always have a chum block deployed, and those cigar minnows will come straight up to the chum block and they'll start sucking on the chum block, and I'll sit there with this sabiki rig just straight down like this right beside the chum block, and they actually won't hit it. It's the weirdest thing because it's mixed in with all the chum and they're not hitting it. And I found out that they're not hitting it because it's vertical because of that weight. So if you're ever trying to sabiki rig up some cigar minnows, take the weight off that sabiki rig and just use a split shot. I mean, if you can get away without split shot, even better. But just as light as a small split shot, so that way you can actually get the rig off of your line or off your pole and just like free line the sabiki rig. And when those cigar minnows aren't hitting with this weight on, that will get them to hit every single time. It works really, really amazingly well. Free lining sabiki rig right behind the chum block for cigar minnows. It works really, really good. All right, people, so we're entering the final stretch of this video. I want to give you some hard examples on where to maybe catch some bait when you go out. So typically a pretty good thing to do if you're not really familiar with an area, or maybe you're new to this, is to pull up Google Earth and find areas that have like grass flats and stuff. Here I'm using Fort DeSoto as an example. I've been here several times and I could tell you specifically where a lot of bait is in this area. So we're going to start off right here at the boat ramp, Fort DeSoto boat ramp. There's going to be a lot of bait that I can cast net or sabiki rig right off this bridge. Right north here a little bit, you see these grass flats. I'm kind of circling around it right there. That's well known for bait. I always catch a lot of bait in these grass flats right to the south of the boat ramp as well. So these two grass flats are always packed with bait fish that I can cast net on those two grass flats. And then out here into the pass along the beaches is areas where that hold bait. Also, at certain times of the year, it holds bait really, really well. And you can sabiki rig a lot of thread fins or cast net lots of thread fins out there. They're also going to be right along the beaches too, especially around like the Paso Grill area. Again, there's a jetty there, but there's going to be a lot of bait fish around there. And out in this area, like around the Don Cesar, there's some hard bottoms out there, and it always holds a whole ton of bait. And just south of that, we're going to go to Fort DeSoto Pier. Fort DeSoto Pier holds a ton of bait. And once again, you can sabiki rig or cast net for bait right off Fort DeSoto Pier. And these are all excellent areas. And one good tip I can give you is if you won't find bait on, like, going back to the grass flats subject, you won't find bait on all the grass flats, but typically grass flats that have deep water grass flats and a bridge nearby, or some type of jetty or pier or something, there's a real good chance that they are going to hold bait, those grass flats. There's a real good chance that they're going to hold bait. I do a lot of fishing up around the Clearwater area. So let's just move up there real quick. Over in Sand Key. And there's always a lot of bait. Okay, right in this area right here. Okay, we've got grass flats right here. We've got a bridge. And then we've got deep water channel. And same thing, I get a lot of bait right behind this island where there's lots of grass flats, a couple bridges nearby, and deep water channels. And also coming out here, the jetties and mitigation reefs right along these beaches, there's all kinds of bait. And the reason I'm bringing this example up is because it's very similar, the features, to what I showed you in Fort DeSoto. Bridges, deep water, and grass flats. Or if not bridges, some type of jetty or something. So some type of structure, deep water, and grass flats. You get those three mixes, and there's a good chance that there's going to be bait fish on those grass flats at certain times of the year, guys. So, and remember, those pinfish are going to be there too all year round. So, if you guys have any questions, just ask. Hope this helped out. And please do add to the conversation. We're all here to help each other out, help each other become better fishermen, and enjoy our times on the water. So thank you for hearing this presentation. And we'll see what video we're going to release next week, guys. Peace.